welcome to the regular meeting of the Recreation and Parks Commission. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Always better when kids are saying it
Yeah.
than just adults.
I don't have your time.
Here we go. Thank you. And Jackie, roll call, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Stolnick.
Present.
Commissioner Farfan is not with us this evening. Commissioner Lubes.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Davis.
Here.
And Chairperson Moda.
I'm here. Presentations tonight. The drama program will preview their upcoming production of 101 Dalmatians. I know, but are you introducing? Or was that the introduction? Darren can do it. All right. Thank you.
I want to thank Eileen for being here tonight. She's our choreographer for the program at this time, and we've got 3 of our best performers here with us. What song are you guys doing?
Cruella's Scheme.
Say that again?
Cruella's Scheme.
Cruella's Scheme. So here they are for your entertainment.
Should we go down? Should we go down?
Very technical here. We'll do a text. I know, I'm just making sure.
This is our presentation of Cruella's Scheme from 101 Dalmatians, performing June 13th to June 16th at the Asogando Clubhouse. I'm Nola, and I'll be playing Cruella DeVille. I'm Cecilia, and I'm going to be playing Horace. I'm Delilah, and I'll be playing Jasper. I think it's time to take Roger and me to another visit. Come along, boys. It's time to make our plans. Just think how easy it will be to bring those puppies straight to me. To nab them all, we've got the key. Delicious canine crunchies. What are you talking about? Search me! The grown-ups will go out and then we'll dress up like delivery men and tempt them with a bag or 10. Bag or 10? What's a bag or 10? Ask her. A delicious canine crunchies. Don't you nincompoops get it? The puppies are supposed to stay safe inside. But how can we resist? Once they hear their favorite song. Ray, 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 you bang! Happy birthday to you. No, you don't! Hello! Delicious canine crunchies! La 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 la. Delicious canine crunchies, canine crunchies, canine crunchies, canine crunchies.
Thank you for coming. That was very good. Okay, we'll move to number 2 in presentations. Eva Sweeney from the Arts and Culture Committee will present information about a proposed cultural development fund.
Good evening. We actually have Michael Kresge here to make the presentation. Michael, the podium. You want to be here?
delicious canine crunchies. I don't remember that song from the movie, though. It's been a while.
This is a presentation from the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, the ACC, which was.
We just need you on the microphone.
Okay. Oh. All right, very good, okay. Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, which was created in 2016 by the city to advise on arts and culture. Also, key thing though is assisting the city in civic beautification, improving the quality of life in the city through arts and culture. And so far, the ACC has accomplished, we've seen the big mural around the tank down at Grand Avenue. Also, there was something called the Living Book Series that took place at the library. We could have conversations with people from different walks of life. There's going to be a mural by Nanibad Chacon in the library meeting room downstairs, and also a artwork for the centennial commemoration coming up. And the question is, what's next? We realize that arts and culture really are just one aspect of a larger picture, which would be the creative economy, which includes publishing, printing, architecture, interiors, graphic design, multimedia, and so on, which is already very big in the city of El Segundo. Almost 12,000 jobs, over $3 billion in revenue, and wages that are very high, up to average $151,000 a year. So it's a big part of the city right now, big part of the economy here. It's growing. It's already significant. The city should encourage it. That their slogan, start here, grow here, thrive here. But how do you do that? There's a report just came out from a company called Beacon Economics. It's an economic survey of the creative economy here. And they had 4 recommendations. They surveyed the whole thing and said, do these 4 things to grow it. Number 1, all these different creative economy companies, they exist. They hardly even know what anybody else is doing in the city. Help them to network. Number 2, maintain the city's character. It's a low-key city, but it's also got a high-tech edge. And then he said include artists in development and beautification of the city, and toward that end create what you'd call a cultural development fund to support those goals. So the idea is a cycle. With the growth of the creative economy, it's increased revenue for the city, which in turn gets invested into improving the quality of life, which in turn increases the creative economy. And this cultural development fund would be an additional source of revenue that feeds into that for arts and cultural activity. So that's why the ACC is seeking the City Council approval for this cultural development fund, because it makes improve the quality of life in the city and helps to grow the creative economy and attract and retain creative people and businesses here. Culver City has one, West Hollywood has one, Santa Monica has one. Just about every town, city in the region has something like this. Some call it Percent for Arts, some call it cultural development. But the way you establish it is with a city ordinance, and the purpose of the fund is to acquire revenue, to manage it, and allocate it for arts and cultural projects. So the way it works diagrammatically, first, there's no tax money involved. It's fees on new commercial or industrial development or renovation of commercial industrial development over $500,000. And at that time, it's a 1% fee, which goes into a special account. It's solely for public art. It does not go into the general fund. There's no connection between the two. And if you want to donate or give a bequest or an endowment, it can go into this fund as well. Now, for the projects, art proposals either brought in by artists or developers. We want to here's a project we have in mind to do. Or the ACC, the Cultural Committee, can initiate like a competition for a sculpture on a plaza, something like that. The submissions to those, the competition or just submittal, goes to the ACC, also to the city manager, and also to building department, just to make sure it's feasible to do and within a budget. And those that are approved go to the special account, and in turn, that money is funded for the project. If it's under $60,000, as we understand it, the city manager can simply say, okay, that's fine. If it's over $60,000, the city council then needs to approve the project as well. And also, another way this works is if you're a developer and want to do an artwork on your own project, you have your own artist, it's a 1.5% fee because the benefit comes directly to you rather than to the city at large. But this way you don't go into the special account. It's directly, money goes into your own project. And what kind of art we're talking about? It's a variety of things. Permanent art, you think of sculptures, you think of murals on the wall, you think of stuff like that, and that's part of it. Temporary art, installations, short-term things, constructions that are made in conjunction with temporary events, performing arts, theater, dance, music, band concert on the plaza, that kind of thing. Public programs including lectures, you have guest artists come in and give talks to the public and so on, or capital improvements. Give you an example in just a moment. Investing in artistically designed signs, park benches. Well, we'll show you. Here's the 6 goals. Artistically enhance things you've already budgeted. If you already are budgeted for a bus shelter, for a bench, playground equipment, this would be an additional source of revenue that you can use to get an artist involved to do something that's more creative, more interesting, more attractive for the city. Also, the fund would be to advocate for art and cultural events, especially on weekends. Like you'd have Art at the Beach, takes place for 2 days. So people would come in from outside and stay overnight at a hotel in town, which hotels on the weekends tend not to have the most occupancy. This would encourage people to come in. Number 3, permeate the city with artworks throughout, from the beach through downtown, Smoky Hollow, all the way to east of PCH. There's some towns like near Palm Springs, there's Rancho Mirage, I think it is, has a shopping street called El Paseo. All the way down that shopping street, there's sculptures, they have artistically designed bus benches and bus shelters, and it just makes the whole place have a wonderful character, very distinctive. That kind of idea in El Segundo. Another goal would be for businesses or individuals to do something on their own that are extraordinarily attractive and really contributing to the quality of life in the city. Recognize them, award them in some way. So funds would be available to provide awards, basically to show people we appreciate that kind of effort in El Segundo. Number 5, stimulate the involvement of groups, the Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, school groups, and so on, and help them to fund projects on their own, to do decoration, installation, improvements of their campus, of the city at large. And finally, we call the city enjoyable, using these supplemental funds from the Art and Cultural Fund to improve the quality of life, make it more interesting, the plazas, the streets, the crosswalks. So altogether, because arts and culture are part of the creative economy, we hope the City Council would approve the idea of an El Segundo Cultural Development Fund. And the story. So we brought it here tonight so you get a preview of what we're going to be taking to the City Council and to see if you have any reaction to it or you think it's a good idea. And we also have some handouts, by the way, you can leave behind in case you want to read more detail about it. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that presentation.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you for your time. Okay, the third presentation tonight, Recreation Superintendent Ericia Hester will recognize aquatic staff for receiving an award from the American Red Cross.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for having us this evening. I wanted to first say that aquatics has grown immensely over the last year. We had the opportunity to work with Jeanette Gant, who brought talent here, but she also provided a way for us to train and get trained in both LGI and LGIT. So now we're able to offer that training and create more lifeguards. And so we've been able to grow the staff to almost 100. And that's coming from a base of maybe 30, 40 lifeguards. And so they have offered incredible service to the community, and the American Red Cross has recognized them for that. So this evening, I wanted to bring up Linnea Palmer and say thank you so much. Joseph was supposed to be here this evening. Oh, okay. Go home. And I just wanted to say thank you to Linnea. It's been incredible watching her grow and work in this capacity. I'm just so proud of her and everything she's done. I also want to give her an opportunity to let you know a little bit about future plans for the aquatics team. And this is for you and Joseph.
Thank you.
Starbucks is always good.
Yeah, so good afternoon, Commission. Sorry, I haven't been up here in a while. I just want to say it's been great seeing the growth that aquatics has had in this last year. We now have been offering lifeguard instructor courses for every single month, and then we do the LGI we've been doing it probably biannually now. We're going to do another one this summer. We are planning on sending Joe Lormans, who's our LGIT, is a lifeguard instructor trainer on staff. He's going to go and get his WSIT, so Water Safety Instructor Trainer certification, to be able to bring those trainings also in staff. So right now our staff used to have to go outside to be getting all their certifications and research. Now we're providing that for lifeguarding inside, and soon we'll be able to do that for water safety instructor as well. So the hopes is he gets this certification, offering now certification classes at our facility, bring in new water safety instructors, as well as certify our own to be able to transform our lessons into American Red Cross lessons. So that's exciting, and that's our plan for the near future. So we're excited to see the growth continue to happen in aquatics. So, yeah. Any questions? Or
I do, just so I completely understand. The award was because you started the training program here, and you're just doing this program is creating more lifeguards for the area. That's why they recognized.
So if I read the certification or the certificate correctly, it was in our inaugural year we certified over 50 new lifeguards at our facility. So yeah, I think it was in total we had about 55 sign up from outside of our facility in to take our lifeguarding classes, as well as our lifeguards that have done research. That wasn't included in that number, as well as LGIs. I think we did about 7 of our lifeguard staffs can now certify lifeguards as well. If
Congratulations.
That makes sense. Thank you. We're excited. But
Linnea, what's kind of the age range? I mean, is it high school, college? What's the age range of those lifeguards?
yeah, we've had a growth in our high school because now we, instead of just the El Segundo High School kids being familiar with our aquatic program, just this week I've interviewed at least 4 from the Weisburn Da Vinci campus as well. So we've been getting a lot of those kids from those swim teams, but also college students. We've had some adults here in town that their kids are in school. They're looking for morning hours during school. So we've had some adults come in and go through the hiring process as well. So our morning times, which have been a little light, are now, we're getting some staff, which is exciting. I have been saying, we've been offering them at a lower rate than say they do outside because we're really trying to push getting staff into our facility because we were really low staffed. Probably over 50% of the people who have taken our lifeguard certification classes have joined our staff, which is pretty exciting. So now that we're pretty good on numbers with 97 and continually growing, we're probably going to up that rate a little more, but it's exciting to see. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to public communications related to commission business only, and that is within the subject matter under the jurisdiction of the commission. Seeing none, we'll close public communications. Consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the Recreation and Parks Commission regular meeting of April 17, 2019. Anyone?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. 4-0. There's no unfinished business. New business. Consideration and possible action to prioritize future capital improvement projects in the parks and recreation facilities and to forward high priority projects to the Capital Improvement Project Advisory Committee, CPAC, for funding consideration in the fiscal year 2019-2020. Recommendations are review the project list and assign high, medium, and low priority levels to each project. Make fiscal year 1920 project recommendations to be reviewed by CPAC and or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. Meredith.
Yes. Thank you very much. So you have the report in front of you, and it has a couple of attachments, but I just wanted to do a brief review of the process. Last year was the first year that this commission went through a pretty extensive multi-month long process in order to identify potential capital improvement projects within the parks and the recreation facilities, and then also created an evaluation tool, worksheet, That helped the commissioners and staff evaluate each project based on certain measures such as meeting essential needs, how it would impact the community, any sort of fiscal considerations that would go along with that particular project, among other things. And using that, the entire commission individually went through the list of projects, came back, and we had a discussion, an open discussion, where each commissioner weighed in on each of the projects. And from there, just through open discussion, we identified high, medium, and low priority projects. So last year, we actually reviewed about 30 projects. Through that process, we sort of combined and massaged a few fell off to normal maintenance type activity versus capital improvement project. And the first attachment that you see in your packet here is that list, that final list, broken down into what the overall results were in terms of high, medium, and low projects. Also included on this new spreadsheet is the funding amount that was attached to that, whether it was approved or not, and the status. So quickly going through it, the plunge renovation was allocated this fiscal year $100,000 to do a scope assessment and a facility feasibility study. So currently we are producing an RFP that will be going out probably in another month or so to solicit proposals from qualified aquatics design firms to help us start that project. The George E. Gordon Clubhouse renovation and the Joslyn restroom renovation. Both of these were listed as high priority projects. However, they were not submitted for CPAC and funding consideration because the Public Works Department was undergoing a citywide facility conditions assessment. They're just wrapping that up, and the final report should be out to us hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And similarly, this year they've asked that we not forward building-related projects because that report will be identifying really critical needs in all city buildings, and then they will be reviewing those needs collectively when that report is finalized, if that makes sense. Next was the Acacia Playground construction, which was allocated $550,000 this fiscal year. As you know, there were a couple design options, one that kept the pool, one that did not keep the pool. And due to this budget allocation, the recommended project here from this commission was to remove the pool. Council did discuss it, and they felt that the pool was a necessary item to keep, and so they've actually allocated in their mid-year budget review an additional $800,000 towards that project. And then we also have a $200,000 grant coming from Prop 68, which is a state grant. And so another $1 million has been added to that project. So we're at a total of $1,550,000. And so we will be taking the next steps and making sure that we can move forward on that project. Teen Center upgrades, again, a high priority item. Specific funding was not allocated, although we had determined that if there was excess funds after the Holly Valley Playground and the Campus El Segundo shade structure projects, that anything additional, if we came in under budget on either or both of those projects, would be allocated to a Teen Center budget. It's looking like we should have maybe about $10,000 after those projects. Those are underway right now. Holly Valley Playground, again, $175,000 was funded, and the bids came in, and we should be a little bit under on that project. Construction should, the equipment has been ordered, the colors have been selected, more importantly, and the construction should take place this summer. And same with Campus El Segundo, the equipment has been ordered, and colors have been selected. And that construction will be this summer as well. The Richmond Field renovation project, we had $350,000 allocated. The city council just allocated an additional $120,000 to make the budget $470,000, and that is in part due to the school district undergoing some construction at their old TLC corner, and that includes a parking lot where the city will have some shared use with that parking lot. So that should help out our field users quite a bit and the surrounding neighborhood. The Washington Park playground replacement is funded at $270,000 this year, and we're moving into construction drawings with RHA Landscape Architects right now. A toddler playground was indicated as a high priority project. However, what we discussed at the time was that we could incorporate more toddler play equipment into these playground replacement projects at Acacia and Washington, and so that's exactly what we're doing. So moving through, in the medium category, the project that was funded in that category was the replacement of the bleachers at the softball field for $70,000. And that project is still on the list in terms of engineering and getting assigned a project manager from engineering. And so we should be able to get that project going in the next couple of months. So that will be carried over into the next fiscal year. So moving forward to the next page is the project list, basically the carried over projects that either are not funded or have been added this year for your review. The only thing that has been added was the conversion, it's at the bottom of the list, the conversion of our temporary pickleball courts to permanent pickleball courts. And that's something that's been brought to us by our pickleball players. The pickleball has definitely shown its popularity in the park. We have 4 courts currently, and if you recall, we striped for fairly inexpensively. We striped over an existing tennis court, and we have temporary pickleball nets. Since we've done that, we've not had tennis played on that court at all, and so the lines do pose a little bit of a challenge to the players, and so they've asked us to consider permanently converting that court into the 4 pickleball. So we would resurface the entire and just stripe pickleball courts, and then permanently install permanent pickleball nets. So that would have a sleeve into the ground, and they would still be able to come in and out if you wanted it to, but essentially it would be permanent. That's the only thing that's been added. We dropped off a couple of things from the list. Again, the toddler playground we took off of the list just because we were going to be more efficient in incorporating that into any playground replacements. And the same with the adding shade at playgrounds. So any new playgrounds, we're going to be careful to install the integrated shade into the playground equipment, much like you saw in some of the drawings for Washington Park. Holly Valley has the integrated shade, just like Hilltop does. So any new playgrounds will have those shade umbrellas that come off of the play equipment itself.
Can I ask you a question? Because I
Sure.
wasn't on the commission when this was all discussed. Where is the electronic marquee going to be
Sure.
placed?
This was a staff-initiated project and didn't get much support in the past, but stays on the list. This is envisioned to be at the corner of Grand and Eucalyptus near the four-way stop. At that entrance to the park, it would be an opportunity to electronically display event happenings. It's sort of moving away from the traditional banner, hanging the banner method of advertising, but also provides opportunities for outside groups to also display any information on there, much like the high schools.
Julie, I think I, at the time, was one of the surprisingly vocal people against a marquee. So there was discussion about whether it should even be on the list. It was a staff-initiated. So I think, Meredith, the one thing I don't understand, which kind of relates to this, is this list didn't get on any high, medium, or low? Because some of these things we did rank at the time, right? Like we ranked the trails, we ranked the first trail.
No, they're still there.
But
They're on here as well. They're on both
they're on
lists.
both pages?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Most of them, as you can see on the high priority, have either been funded or they're not really up for discussion, like because they're facilities or they've been dropped off. So what's remaining on this second page list is all of the ones in the medium and low, with the exception of,
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. It's the nose, but then with the estimated cost.
correct.
Got it.
The other thing that I've deleted from the list, and we can add it back on, is restrooms at neighborhood parks. Just based on a lot of our conversations over the last several years, that seems to be more of a change from an operational change that the commission and the city's not exactly interested in. So we can keep it on the list if we want to. But I felt, based on the discussion that we've had on that topic, that most likely will continue to be a low priority item. So tonight, I think the goal is to ask the commission to first see if there's any projects that you would like added to the list and discussed and ranked, or discussed and prioritized. And then if there's any projects you would like to remove from the list. Or you can take the list as is, or the completed list after we have that discussion, and reaffirm the priorities. Again, we have a lot of high priorities that have dropped off the list, so we can either move those mediums up and submit those projects, or reprioritize.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. Dave, you want to start? We'll just-
I'll do whatever the chair tells me to do.
Wow, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, the teen center upgrades, at the time, we said, hey, this is really important to us, so let's move it up, and as a matter of fact, use the money that we already have. So now that it looks like it's only going to be 10,000, I'm hoping that it's still high, separate from the extra money.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's still the case. We're not only using the extra for that, but it might go, if there's zero left over, that one still stays as a high, correct?
Right, we
Okay.
can submit that project to CPAC for 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, you know, and we're able to submit that project again and ballpark a number.
And so that ballpark number will be staff driven, like, because I have no idea what
Yeah,
we should ask for.
Right. I would probably put a ballpark number in, something that we felt comfortable that was enough that we could spend and develop a project to get done. The challenge with the teen center is we don't know exactly what the community wants. So there's a step in here that that we need to have enough funding to then go out into the community and really ask their input on what improvements they'd want to see at the teen center. And so that's sort of being done actually through our civic day project with our high school students that are exploring that exact topic. And next week we'll actually hear from the students on what they're requesting.
Okay. My next comment is,
Hang on one second.
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah.
Stick right there for
Okay.
a minute. Is the teen center not part of the facilities condition assessment report? Yes or no?
It is.
Okay.
The condition assessment report is mainly about the life cycle of the systems of the building. So
Of the
HVAC,
Exterior, interior?
interior, but
Okay.
electrical, plumbing, things like that. What
The-
it
the
doesn't
infrastructure
consider, right, what it doesn't consider is the facility itself meeting the needs, or furniture, for instance, at the teen center is something that we've talked about. Essentially, the teen center is a shell, and it's kind of like whatever we do inside makes up the teen center. So, so yes, plumbing, electrical, and sort of that kind of system work in terms of its life cycle and its condition will be included. But if we wanted to request money to create a computer lab and replace all of the furniture and redo the basketball court and turn it into something else, or those types of things, those would not be included in the report.
Right now, you have an estimated cost on teen center upgrades of 100,000 to 1 million. That's pretty. That's pretty big. I mean, that's a gigantic
is.
wish list.
Maybe
We need to
yours-
be a little more realistic there, I think. I mean, we're gonna throw something like that at CPAC? I don't think so.
right.
So hopefully you're gonna be a little more realistic in giving them a better cost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be nice too, for a change for the teen center, instead of having people donate their old furniture that they want to throw away to the teen center, that the city purchase furniture for the teen center, because the teen center has always gotten everybody's throwaway furniture.
Yes.
And the teen center has always gotten the throwaway. And I think it would be nice for the city to put some money into the teen center for a change.
Right.
If we're going to buy new for the teen center, it's going to have to be really durable.
Right.
Plastic.
Because they do, I mean, yeah, part of the reason why that happens is because it gets so thrashed so fast.
I don't know. Arcia,
it's-
did you have anything you wanted to add as far as the teen center?
No, I felt like you were doing a very good job. No, once we go through the exercise on Civic Day, we'll have more of an idea of what the community wants. We really want to speak to the teens and see what they would like to see in the teen center. Yes, we do realize that we need better furniture or newer furniture, and it does have to be durable, but the hand-me-downs are a little over the top, but that's that's outside the point. I think there are a lot of other things that teens are paying attention to. Right now, this teen group, they're actually looking at other cities, how their teen centers are put together. They're asking very specific questions with accordion doors. How could we implement this and separate space? So I think this will be a very good exercise on the 22nd. It might even enlighten some of us as to what's out there and what they want.
Okay,
And we can better put a price to everything that we're looking at.
I would say that the teen center continues to be a high priority for this commission, right? I think we've spoken, all of us have kind of supported that. So
Right, absolutely.
whatever that ends up being, we'd definitely like to keep that as a high priority. Vulnerable kids need
Okay.
good spaces to go to.
The one thing I would like to add is that with a lot of our facilities, we kind of look and see what maybe a certain user group, like for the teen center, what do the 12 to 15-year-olds really want to see at teen center? You know, I think if we address more our objectives, what we want for them, if we're looking at a computer, center, if we're looking for a entertainment center, whatever the objectives for the facility are, then we go out and we see what others have done, where they have had success, and then where, we can either build on their success or at least achieve their success, rather than hopefully just trying to do it. Tonight we just had a presentation about, we defined some objectives for aquatics, which was to get better lessons, and we got better instruction, and we have a better, got the facility, the instruction, and then that. So have a systematic approach to it, but yet show some creativity would be nice as well. But again, fall back on the objectives would be my suggestion.
Should I continue?
Go right ahead.
Move on to the next topic?
Yep.
Okay, so in general, I just, and Bob will probably echo this sentiment, but there's a little bit of concern with regard to the timing of the condition assessment report and then the meeting, and then what funds might be allocated to some things that we have as low that we would probably recommend, don't spend it on that. You should have put it in the clubhouse, or you should have put it in, one of these other buildings. And so it's hard, I guess it's hard for me personally to say, okay, well, it's on hold. And then we find out 3 months from now that we should have said, no, take these off the list then, because I don't want to, I'd rather save the money to wait for that report, and then we can make a better recommendation as to where the money should go. So I don't know how to express that other than timing. We need, I don't know, it's, Bob, does that sound about right?
You nailed it on the head.
All right.
I don't want to do any of this until we find out what's available. I mean, I didn't know $800,000 flew out of the sky in a month. In 1 week, it flew out. So
It's good to know that there is money for these projects.
absolutely
And
love
once
it.
we find out what money is going to be
Then
allotted to them, then we can go and try to give you a better understanding of what we believe the community needs. We had a tough time deliberating, all of us, on a pool because we thought it was too expensive. Apparently, it's not.
And that's great.
And I love it.
If we have it, let's spend it. But you still got to still have to have the rainy day fund. And I echo your sentiment 100%.
So with all of your permission, I guess that's the sentiment we would like to send to council, is we'd like another opportunity. If they want our true input, we'd like another opportunity to go through this once we find out how much needs there are at these things, and then we would be able to do a better job of doing that. With that said, I still think there's a possibility that they are going to move forward, and so we should continue this exercise. I don't want to just stop. You're not suggesting that, are you?
Close. because the way I'm looking at it, we did this already. We did this last year. There's one item added from last year. I know Julie wasn't here when we did this.
Okay, if
go ahead.
you wouldn't mind, I'll just go
Oh,
through.
please go down.
Because
Go
I
down the
took the time, I wouldn't mind just.
Yeah, and if I
Getting out
could
my
too,
thoughts.
sure. What we heard at the preliminary report, like the very surface level from the facility assessment, is that there are no immediate needs, and they're looking at it from a safety standpoint too. So if there's anything that needs immediate addressing, in the first 2 years, it was only about $150,000, according to this report. So again, the report doesn't consider, is the clubhouse meeting our needs or our expectations or our standards. It's more about, is it falling apart and is it safe, and when do we need to replace HVAC and things like that. So it's a little bit of a similar but kind of side conversation, and I share the same sort of challenge, trying to work alongside Public Works in terms of what really is this facility assessment for. But that being said, they will still be going through the CPAC process and will be presenting projects to the City Council for funding, and we don't know how much it will be next year. It all depends on sort of how the numbers shake out for the entire budget.
I'd be really bummed if to come to find out that some of these that are, I mean, I can probably come up with 5 or 6 that I'd like to take off completely, but they're already on the list. And so it'd be really sad for us to find out later that all these low priorities became all of a sudden funded, and now we can't do the things that we thought, or can't recommend. I mean, they don't have to take a recommendation, but we weren't able to recommend necessarily the ones that are near the top. Okay. I'm just going to continue, Bob. Try to go fast. Stop me if I'm taking too long. The Stevenson Field fence replacement, I spoke about that last time. It's hard for us. I mean, how bad is it? That's the kind of thing that I don't think we can really, I mean, unless we're out there looking at each pole and examining the rust and is it dangerous? It's still a medium priority, but I don't know. Can it last 5 more years? I'll move on.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
I don't know.
This
I mean, if
one
it needs to be replaced, it needs to be replaced. Either does or
Right.
doesn't.
So, this one was enhanced with the height extension too. If you recall the conversation we had between the softball and the baseball field.
Oh.
So this would encompass that as well. Similar to the softball fence replacement to about 2 years ago, we've seen some leaning with the wind events with the ivy on Stevenson Field. So it definitely has shown.
The west side.
Yeah, it has shown some movement.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like that's kind of not. If it's dangerous, you got to replace it, and if it's not dangerous, you don't, right? So I'm not saying remove it, but I kind of feel like it should be removed from this list because it's replacing a fence. It's like if we wouldn't put every fence in the city that might need replacement on here, you know, that on all our parks. That's kind of it's an odd one to have on there.
Yeah.
Other than the one that's in between the fields, which I've already spoken
Sure,
about.
and the reason why it's on there is because of the dollar amount, and it has to get programmed into the Public Works program.
And these are just my own feelings, if the trails at DWP were truly going to be considered or recommended, I would suggest that we all take a field trip, because I did that in the blind, right? I've never been out there, so it's hard for me to talk about something I haven't actually seen. So if I guess what I'm trying to say is, do we have another opportunity with you before you go and present, or is this it tonight, and then the meeting's going to take place with that committee, the CPAC committee?
They've asked for the forms by the end of the week, so not to say that we couldn't weigh in again.
Because it's really high. I mean, when you look at all the things that were funded, and if you just went in order, it's actually pretty high up there. I know it's an expensive item, but
How do the trails at DWP fall under us when it's not our land?
Well, there would have to be a lot of work on this one in terms of partnership and funding opportunities, probably grants and things like that. This one came out of the community survey in terms of developing trails, and that particular property that people already use as trails was discussed at some of our community meetings. So we don't even know if it's a pipe dream or realistic, and it may be something that we take the steps, you know, to get those conversations going before we ask for funding, obviously.
What I'd like to see on that, just having worked with DWP down at the beach as well as a bunch of other stuff, get the initial meeting and see what the likelihood and what their response is to actually doing that, because that might be a non-issue. That might be, no, they are 100% security safe. They want that buffer zone. We can't touch it.
Yeah.
So that if we can get a meeting, sit down, and, you know, if it takes a subcommittee, whatever it takes, so that we can go there and at least address them and ask the question, is it feasible? Because I don't even think we have a true understanding if it's feasible. And yet we've still maintained it on our list for over a year.
Right.
So let's just, you know, suggestion,
Yeah.
let's see if it's feasible before we, you know, beat it up. I'd love to see it. I'd love to be able to sit up there, run, and look at the water from El Segundo. So.
If I believe that an item or two or three should be removed from this list, would that take a motion and a second and a vote, or would that just be a discussion?
You can just discuss it first and see,
Okay.
and maybe there's, like I said, you know, yeah, maybe.
I've played enough paddle tennis over the last year and a half to believe that there's absolutely not enough traffic to warrant the justification of adding another paddle tennis court. I think that one should absolutely be removed. There's just not enough people who use the one. They just all want to use it at the same time. That's it. It's Saturday morning. Sorry, you know, if you're nice with each other, you can work it out. And so I personally believe there's not enough play on the one paddle tennis court to warrant, to even consider a second paddle tennis court. I'd like to see the paddle tennis removed. I also believe that the philosophy of this commission and of the council over the years warrants removal of the restrooms at neighborhood parks. I don't think that's a path that we're going to go down. I personally also would like to see the electronic marquee removed, but I might be the only one on that. That goes back to my belief in preservation of the uniqueness of our park, and I think the only thing that I don't like about El Segundo High School is the marquee. It just doesn't make sense, and so now we're going to create another spot that just doesn't make sense. So I'd like to see the electronic marquee removed as well. And then the other one that I don't want to remove, but I definitely have concern over the outdoor fitness equipment at Rec Park, only because I've seen over the years in various locations, this outdoor fitness equipment just never get used. Like, I just don't see it used. You see it rust all over the place. The stuff I just haven't seen. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, there are a lot of parks have it, and if you go to those parks, it sits there. I've never seen anybody use it. So I know it ranked kind of high in the survey, but I question whether it would be actually utilized. It might be unnecessary. So I'm not suggesting remove it, but I'm definitely have my concerns about that one. And my last comment was the beach. It's pretty high. It's a medium one. The beach playground fitness zone and our picnic shelter that ranked fairly high in the survey as well. But I just was, before we did something like that, I would probably want to know how many El Segundo residents benefit from that versus non-residents. That's a tough one for me to. It's high. It's really high on there, but I don't know very many people who go down to that beach. Most of my friends and family's friends still go to El Porto. So I'm wondering if it's really good for the citizens of El Segundo or not. That's my comment on that one. That's all I have.
It sounds like you want more information. And I'm wondering why we're getting this 1 week before we're supposed to make a decision. I have a problem with that. So anyway, well, that's my opinion right there. Who wants, would you like to speak? Lee?
We're asked to make some decisions within a week that we had kind of, really put a lot of time and effort into. A lot of this I see staying the same. I agree with Dave on some of the stuff that should be removed. The fitness zone at Rec Park, I understand we have a lot of different stuff going on at that park. I will say that I worked in front of probably one of the busiest fitness zones in the nation, and that's 26th Street, Manhattan. It sits right there on the Strand. It's got, and you have people 24/7, well into the late hours of the night at that. But that is one of the few that truly work because of its surroundings. With that being said, we do need more information. I'd love to see CPAC's response to a lot of our stuff that we've had on here for a while. Get the information, and then we can sit and prioritize. And that's pretty much where I stand.
I'm sorry, I forgot one, if I may. Come back in really quickly. I do believe that the popularity of the pickleball courts, I think that, and the low cost of that, I'd like to see the pickleball courts, because CPAC is happening, regardless of your comments, it's happening. So I personally think that pickleball court should be moved to a high just because of the popularity.
And the dollars.
And the low cost. Sorry. Okay. Now, that probably isn't my last one, but I'll try to make it.
Go ahead.
Being new on the commission and going through this, and I was kind of involved in it. I did the surveys when they came out as just a resident, and did my rankings, and so I see a lot of the things on here that I had ranked. And I do agree with some of Dave's things on here to be removed. I am against restrooms in the neighborhood parks. I don't want to see an electronic marquee. I like the banners across Main Street. And we don't need another paddle tennis court. And the picnic shelter down at the beach, I see that as a, there are a lot of people, Dave, you'd be surprised, that go to El Segundo Beach now instead of just 42nd. But I see it as a place where homeless are going to gather in that picnic shelter. I walk at the beach every morning early, and we do have homeless down there at the beach, and I see it as a place where they are going to set up and can make it a permanent place. So I don't know if I would be for putting the picnic shelter down there. Fitness trail at Memory Row. Those of us on the Gateway Committee have been talking about making better use of Memory Row and that green belt. And we've been talking about it would be a nice area for a fitness trail through there from Main Street all the way to the end. And it would not be an expensive thing to do. And we think that it would be something that would be utilized by a lot of people. And a lot of us have looked at that and thought that would be a very nice area. And I agree also with the pickleball. That's becoming a very popular sport. We have a lot of tennis courts, and I think converting a couple of our courts, or however many courts that we've given up now, to the pickleball would be a nice thing, a nice addition to the park. And I know that tournament went off really well. But I would like to see more money put into the teen center. The teen center has been neglected for a long, long time. It was neglected when we were kids, and that was a long time ago. And there are kids that need that teen center and deserve a better place. And, you know, and our city should be giving those teens a better place to go. But I think that for me, being new to the commission, kind of given a week to look at this and make decisions. I've only had a week, and you guys have sat on it for a year, and you feel that it's being pushed too quickly. I feel even more so.
I understand. I do agree with Dave on some of the items that can come off the list. Yes, and the we're talking a lot about pickleball, but the latest craze. Teen center upgrades, absolutely. It's got to stay on the list. Got to stay up in the high. No question about it. Removing some of these electronic marquee, absolutely, got to go away. There's no question in my mind there. The restrooms in the neighborhood parks, yes, I agree. I think everyone does. So if we can agree to pull some off, if we just grab one and say, pull it off the list, everything else can slide up, are you guys okay with that? And we'll give them something to work with. Are we in agreement on that? And if it's still-
Absolutely. I think we have to be, because we have to sense up their meeting. They've got a job to do. Just because we're not necessarily prepared for it doesn't mean that they shouldn't have something to look at. But we need to let them know it's dependent on what they decide to fund and how we're going to bring the other stuff into our priority list.
Okay, and I agree with you, but we weren't given a chance, okay? And I'm going to stand by that we did not get enough time to look at this. Julie did not get enough time. 4 days? We got the packet on Thursday? 5 days? So, I'm going to go down this list, and if we're okay with it, that's what we're going to do. We'll go each item, and we'll vote that way. Are we okay with that? Looks like we're in agreement.
So each item, we're going to vote on each item?
Well,
To leave it on.
to leave it on or take it off, and then things can, we're going to give them a list. It's what they want.
So should we just do a straw poll? We're going to vote on each one. Thumbs up,
Well-
thumbs down? Otherwise,
Yeah, I think we better do each one. I mean, and,
just a quick vote.
Yeah.
You're not saying we're going to
no,
motion second,
no.
all in favor? Okay. Just
Do we, I don't think we have to, do we? We can do,
Yeah, if you want to go one by one, that's fine. I think what I've heard is definitely remove the electronic marquee, the neighborhood restrooms, and the paddle tennis.
that's 4 items. Is anybody want to pull any of those 4?
Wait, that was 4 or that was 3?
There was 3 items.
Is it 3? I got tennis,
Fitness.
marquee, and the restrooms. I'm sorry, 3. The paddle tennis court, the electronic marquee, and the restrooms.
Right.
3.
We're all in agreement on those 3.
Is that everyone?
Yes.
That is yes. So those 3 can come off.
Okay. And then I think there are a couple things on here that just need more cooking, if you will. Development in terms of just even exploratory, and that would be the trails at DWT. There's probably
Right.
no reason to ask for funding right now.
No.
Beach recreation feature, probably need to do a little bit more outreach and assessment on what that would entail.
Excuse me, you're talking
The
about
beach.
a beach, playground, fitness zone, and or picnic shelter. Is that the one you were talking about?
Right.
Okay, so that's on hold, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the trails at DWP are on hold.
Right.
Okay.
Those are both, just to note, both very complex projects that would need a lot of coordination.
So Bob, looking at just looking at just the high priority ones,
The teens.
it looks like everything just stays. The things that have been funded come off. Everything else slides up. Toddler playground. That's the only one that does that come off then too, because it's being incorporated into Acacia, or is that not sufficient
Correct.
enough to meet the?
I would remove it, and I would also remove the shade at playgrounds.
The shade.
It's not on the second page, but
On the second page.
yeah, it's not on the second page. It's been removed on the list.
So
you
the add
have.
shaded to incorporate integrated shading on. So the new one over at Holly Valley has shade.
Correct.
So the idea is it comes off this list, but anytime we do a replacement, that's when it happens.
Correct.
I think that makes sense.
I believe that the Stevenson Field fence replacement needs to be there because of the if you look at that fence on the eucalyptus side, they have to keep trimming the vines off of it, otherwise it's gonna come over. At least that's my opinion, but Christopher is there every day.
You know, it does kind of, I feel like that one shouldn't come off of this, that money shouldn't be money that we have to lose from this list, though.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right?
You're
Like-
not
like,
saying
so-
it doesn't
so-
need to be done, you're saying
I'm saying that-
you don't want it to come out of this fund.
Yeah, because I mean, so does every fence at every park that has to be replaced come out of this fund?
But fixing the bleachers, we had to put the bleachers at the softball field. That's something that has to be there. And I agree with you, but that's why we had to put the bleacher one on here.
Yeah, I said
I'd
that at
rather
the time
use-
about the bleachers.
I'd rather take that 200,000 and put it into the teen center
Yeah, yeah.
or the plunge. But if CPAC says it has to be there for us to fix it, we need to fix it.
I hear you. I don't know. I just don't want this process to always include all fence replacements. That doesn't make sense. And all stands replaced. Like, so it basically takes all the money out for doing the enhancements for the community, you know? Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah.
I get it. It's got to stay on.
And I know what
understand.
you're saying. I'm not arguing with that. Just, this is what they want.
Got it.
At least that's what I think they want. So I believe that should stay there. The fitness trails at Memory Row and skate park repairs, do we want to leave them in medium?
I
That's the
think-
question.
I think so. Our
Yeah.
process got them there.
Okay, so that's all in agreement here. Okay? We already know that we don't have to worry about that one, the replacement of the bleachers at the softball field. We are down into the lows, correct? Dog Beach, Fitness Zone at Rec Park, and skate. Okay.
I think the skate park renovation should stay on there too, both repairs and
Down-
renovation.
Well, it looks like we left repairs on in the medium, right?
Yeah, let's leave.
But then when you go back,
I think
But then skate park renovation, that's almost 400,000, right? Yes. Yeah. Personally, that would never get higher than low or zero. Unless it becomes dangerous. And if we can do repairs,
so. You know what's interesting, Bob?
Yep.
And Meredith and everyone else.
oh,
Public at large, those viewing at home, is that when you look at this survey, it's kind of interesting. It's like it's really flat, right? So you look at like skate park improvements got 19.88%, but that's only 5% less than the number one. So it's kind of, I wonder how. I don't know. I hear you.
yeah.
I don't know how many people want to use it. I don't know how valuable it is, the teen center. I don't.
Yeah, I hear you, but 400,000.
Well, look at the amount for the pool, and you got 22 people using it.
Right. Hey,
Per day.
hey, again, I agree with you. I agree.
Per
with,
day.
Huh?
No, it's per day.
So, we've given you some information.
Certainly.
It's not all that you want, but it's all that I think I can give you tonight without just going crazy.
I think it's fair. You know, there's no limit to what we submit to CPAC. So we can take a look at this and submit what we think is realistic.
Okay.
And, you know, as long as there's not, if there's anything, a project that's not on here that you would like to be added.
You know, that's a different exercise,
Okay.
I guess. I never really considered that, right? Like that would be like I'd want to start talking to people, like friends and neighbors, and I'd want to go look at stuff and kind of come up with my own list. I haven't done that before.
I would like to see this exercise in April,
Sure, of course.
okay?
Yeah.
Not in May.
Or
one
maybe
week.
March.
Huh?
Maybe March.
I like March too, but
Yeah.
I was giving a little help here, getting it a week before you want it,
Yeah,
that's tough.
agreed.
Okay, so I won't say that again.
My biggest
Maybe.
fear is that CPAC will fund a project just because it's on this list and they're like, oh, that one looks good. Yet it's not something that's a high priority to this group, and so it gets funded. So is there any opportunity for us to have one more go around if they fund something that we think is nuts?
Well, is there something on this list that you don't want to move forward with ever? I mean, we just removed three or four of them.
Well, skate park renovation is a good example for $400,000. That's not something that we would necessarily support at this time.
Right.
If we eventually get down there,
Yeah.
if over the next 2, 3, 4 years we chip away at this list
Yeah.
and it moves up, I'm sure other things will go on it.
Okay.
But it's possible. I don't want it removed, but I also don't want it funded right now.
Sure, got it.
I'd like to see that 400,000
example.
go right into the swim stadium.
Sure.
That's where I'd like to see it go.
Yeah, well,
First,
Yeah.
then, after we get that done, Dave's right again, as usual. It could, once we have
yeah.
more money.
And the CPAC, the Capital Improvement Project Advisory Committee is in the same boat. They don't know how much funding is available.
Right.
All they're doing is ranking the projects and giving that to council, and then council will draw the line wherever they want to draw the line. And sometimes they reverse the order and switch it up too. So it's just an exercise, and again, they're not looking at the dollar figures either.
I think there's also some opportunities out there with some of these things that service organizations are always looking for projects, can jump on board and take on, and they don't always have to be city funded. And like one of them on here, I've talked to Christopher about it, the Rotary Club possibly taking on replanting the old pond in Library Park, and doing some projects. And so there are things that community organizations are out there looking for things to do. And so if the city can't fund some things, maybe a list of projects can be put out there in the community that Kiwanis and Rotary and the Women's Club and the Masons and all of that would like to pick up. And it's not all have to be put on the city's shoulders, and the city could put a list out there of looking for things to partner with or the community groups to do on their own.
Good idea.
Yeah, and capital improvement projects are typically over $50,000. So that's why we see this list like this. So beautification projects and maintenance, more routine maintenance type things, those are activities that we look for, on a day-to-day basis and trying to improve. Even the temporary or converting the pickleball courts, I'm going to speak to Public Works, but that may not even go through the CPAC project. It may be something that I just can either find the money this year or budget for in our regular budget in order to accomplish. But it helps knowing that there's support here at this level to move forward with something like that.
That's perfect. You're the one that's going to be putting the projects in, and we understand everything that you can do within your budget. That's the bonus plan.
Yep.
So, new business number 1, you're okay with
Yeah.
the information you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move on to number 2, consideration and possible action to place a temporary ban on the use of Roundup herbicide in any and all areas within the Department of Recreation and Parks jurisdiction. Recommendations are to support the director's recommendation to ban the use of Roundup within all parks and recreation areas, or to alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. Meredith
Sure. And
or Christopher?
Christopher can help with this item too, but essentially, you've probably all seen some of the latest rulings that have come out of the courts that are awarding settlements and judgments towards individuals who are claiming that they've got diagnosed with cancer by being exposed to using the chemical Roundup, which is a product that is used for weed control. And there's conflicting reports from different agencies on whether it's harmful or not. This was first brought out into sort of the spotlight on our usage when our landscape maintenance contractor was erroneously using it near one of our playgrounds. And so since then, we've received numerous emails from concerned residents asking where exactly it's being used, when exactly it's being used. Christopher's worked on identifying no spray zones, working with the contractor to make sure that they're adhering to those areas and those policies. And we continue to get concerned residents, and in corresponding with some of our neighboring agencies, I find it more and more common that other agencies and cities are starting to ban the use, at least temporarily, until there's more information available. The Los Angeles County has placed a temporary ban on usage at county parks. And so my recommendation tonight is, due to the uncertainty of the health effects of being exposed to it, and obviously that safety is our primary goal in the parks, and there's lots of kids and activities, and concerned residents, that we stop using the product within our department. I can't speak for the city as a whole. I know the streets department is also hearing all of this feedback and considering their usage in other areas like streets and sidewalks and curbs and gutters. But I think it's the right thing to do, is to cease the use of it in the parks and recreation areas, and then continue to explore alternative methods. And I just wanted to make it clear that in doing so, there will be some consequences of that, and that is, obviously, there's a use for the product, and that is to kill weeds, and it does it very swiftly and effectively. And Christopher, I'll let him chime in on sort of what we might see when we no longer use it.
Yes, we're looking at some alternatives right now. We did go through and identify certain parks, no spray zones, no spray parks, and was wondering if we'd get any pushback from the maintenance contractor that we're contracted with, and we did not. But now we're extending it to all areas, including the Washington parks and Memory Row, Imperial Strip, and so forth. So we're still going to wait to see what kind of fallout comes with that, because the alternative methods right now are more labor intensive, more often. Some of the other herbicides that are out there don't last as long. They'll kill the tops of the weeds, but the roots are still there, so they come back and so forth. So we're still looking at other alternatives, maybe some other type of spraying that could help us out. But that's kind of where we're at. We may see more weeds in areas that we don't want to see weeds. So just something we might have to live with to be safe.
I see this on our agenda. This is your decision and your decision. You want support? I can support you, but this is your decision. As I'm not sure that it's our decision. Go ahead.
Well, I guess the only reason why I thought it was our decision is because it's on this agenda. I mean, I'm fine with if it's not, but now that it's put in front of me, I definitely have an opinion. So, pretty familiar with glyphosate. I've done a great deal of research on this. And the 2015 study was a study for agricultural products. It was about spraying vegetables and fruits and things that we end up eating. And so in that capacity, that study showed that there may be probable human carcinogens. But that's a very different thing from what's currently happening. And the reason why the second agency, the EPA, has a different opinion is because they're looking at it more with regard to things we don't eat, spraying weeds and doing that. Anytime you get 12 random citizens together in a room, you're likely to come up with a sympathetic judgment for a plaintiff who's in their 70s or 80s and has cancer. So I don't personally think that the judgments should impact our decision. I definitely want people to be safe. But I personally believe that there is not evidence that spraying of glyphosate, now if you're spraying it in your face all day long, that's one thing. But the amount of exposure that we are getting when it's sprayed on the side is extremely limited. The alternatives have other side effects. So some of the organics, as you probably have found out, you're going to have to use like 5 or 6 times as much of the just to and still not even get as much. But now we're talking about what's good for the environment, right? So we're spraying it's organic, but it's in a spray bottle. So we are using aerosols. We're doing all sorts of there's a downside to all the alternatives, and one of the downsides is they haven't resisted yet, the company, because we haven't. How should I say this? They haven't resisted because once the weeds start growing, they're going to say, yeah, sorry, if you want us to pull those, it's going to be, for my little small district, it was $65,000 increase in order to hand pull the weeds that they were using for that. So it was a $65,000 deal, and I just don't believe that the evidence is there yet. 20 years from now, if it ends up I have cancer from this, I'm being foolish, I get it. But I think that there's often a knee-jerk reaction to lawsuits, a knee-jerk reaction to big awards, $2 billion. I mean, it's not going to end up being $2 billion. It may end up being 0 once it goes through. There's thousands of other cases. I think that a lot of people who have is it Hodgkin's, lymphoma? I believe that there's a craze if you have that form of cancer and you are ever exposed to this at all those people are trying to grab money, or some of them are. I'm not saying that all of them are, but I just don't think we're there. I completely respect the path of caution that that you guys are recommending, and I fully expect this to be a 3-1 vote when I came in here. Because it is the smart, safe, cautious way to go. But because of my belief in my own position and what I have done, it would be kind of not duplicitous, but it wouldn't make sense for me to say, yeah, we should ban it, and then go to work and say, no, we don't need to ban it there. So because of my own research and personal belief, I'm going to be voting no on this item.
I do my own yard. I use Roundup. I know, I've read some of this stuff. Again, might be foolish on my part. I will always err on the side of safety and employee safety for sure. So I'm in favor of the staff recommendation. But I still find it, at some point, we may have to do the financial on it and get more information and come back. And I think it's probably going to come back to using Roundup. But at this juncture, I feel it's probably safest to go with, err on the side of safety would be my thought.
My opinion is going with what staff's recommendation is, but also why not in the park? Say if you're spraying at Hilltop Park, have a dissipation time frame, that it dissipates within 2 to 3 hours, and the park is off limits for that period of time, and then it's back open. Does that give you a safety zone? I don't know. I use it in my yard. not to say that it's right or that I'm not going to end up with cancer, but if we eliminate all of it, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get it from eating yogurt. You know, it's just, if we just keep eliminating everything, but are we going to have weeds that are 8 feet tall because we can't spray anything? And is the cost going to be prohibitive, you know, in order to be pulling all of this by hand? And I was going to say tonight, the weeds are starting again in the median on Sepulveda. You know, I noticed again. And I don't know if it's just because the contractor isn't pulling them or if it's because we're not using the Roundup. Is there an organic alternative? You know, I don't know, but you're the expert in it. And so I don't know enough about it. You know, Bob and Lee and Dave, you know, we don't know enough about it. And so that's where, you know, we look to you, Christopher, for it, not to put all of the pressure on you, but I think there's got to be, you know, alternatives. I mean, I when Cooper was little, I wasn't going to let him play on top of weeds that have been sprayed with Roundup, but eventually it dries.
It's interesting. I was at a conference last November, and this was a big topic, and the person running the segment, he went around to everybody and asked who's spraying and who's banned it, and it was kind of split 50-50, and this person held basically the views that you just told us about, and but since then, a whole lot more cities, counties have done this banning of Roundup. I personally hold some of your same views as well, but from the input we've been getting from the community, I feel that we should eliminate the use of it, and we'll see what kind of alternatives we can come up with and see how it falls out.
Okay. I support staff's decision, whatever that decision is. And what I'm reading here is staff's decision is they want to ban the use of Roundup. So that being said, I'll make a motion that we support the director's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
3-1.
All right, thank you.
We're going to reports of subcommittees. Aquatic Subcommittee. Was there?
Believe we're disbanded.
Okay. Golf Course Subcommittee. Alex is not here. Was there any? Okay.
No meeting.
Thank you.
Next meeting is in June.
I'm sorry?
The next meeting is the first week of June.
Thank you. Youth Sports Council, there was no meeting. Gateway Committee.
Yes, we've been meeting about every 2 weeks. Yeah. And we are now getting ready to put out a call to artists, architects, designers, sign companies. It's a RFP for qualification, correct, Christopher? RFQ?
Request for qualifications.
Right. And Christopher did a presentation to council, and it's what it is that we are looking for. We've come up with our scope, and that will be going out, and then everything will come back by the end of June in order for us to take a look at what it is that the artists are who's going to be able to qualify for what it is that we will then move forward with, what is it, 3 to 5 artists?
Correct.
Yeah, so we've been busy.
Good. Thank you. And department staff reports. Aricia.
Good evening again. Just a few things. We've been very busy in the Recreation Department. We had our Rec Expo, and I know in the report it did inform you about how much we took in that day for summer camps. We took in $130,000 in one day in that short span of time, and we still have people registering for programs. We had Hometown Fair and Elderfest, which were very successful and well attended. I'm also hearing, while being at these events, my mother and I were tasters for the Bake Off. So that was quite an experience. But we're hearing a lot of people coming from out of town, too, to our events now. So that's very exciting. We can see that they're growing a lot. We recognize B.B. Buchan, I hope I'm saying that right, for the Older American of the Year at City Council and at Elderfest. So that was exciting for her. She's done a lot in the community, so we were happy to recognize her. The staff is going on some more civic rec training next week. So Monday and Tuesday, we will be doing some more in-depth training with civic rec. There's some parts of the system that we can make better use of, and so civic rec is going to come back and give us some more training. So we're happy about that. We're getting ready for summer. Summer is here. I don't want to say it's around the corner. It is here, and 4th of July is on our heels. So we're pretty ready for that as well. So moving forward, that's all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Christopher.
You have my report, and I have a couple updates. At Acacia Park, we just finished installing a doggy station, along with a sign that have your dogs on a leash at the park. But however, the dogs do not know how to read, so they're running around. Going with the Roundup ban, we are still going ahead with our pesticide yearly training with our staff. That involves street staff and wastewater as well. Just want to have that in place in case it does come back. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
The Little League field here on May 15th continues to be in outstanding shape. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Department Director's Report. Meredith.
Yes. So just to highlight a few things in my report, usually we have El Segundo TV's monthly report here too, but officially they've been transferred over to the city manager's department as part of the communications section of the city manager's department under the deputy city manager. So they're still watching, I'm sure, but just wanted to recognize them and thank them for all of their partnership over the last, I think they've been part of the Recreation and Parks Department about 6 years now. They've moved around a little bit. They've been under the library. They've been under the city manager's department before. So we're looking forward to seeing, how this transition can really showcase the talented folks in that division. Also, wanted to invite you to the strategic planning workshop if you'd like to attend. The city council will be hosting that on Tuesday, June 11th at 11:30 a.m. And that is being held at our Joslin Center. You received some surveys before the meeting tonight. They are seeking commissioner and board member feedback. And those, if you did not complete them tonight, can be turned in to either Jackie or through the city clerk's office by June 5th, please.
Perfect.
And also, if you do have the day available, next Wednesday, May 22nd, is the Mock City Council for Civics Day. And that starts at 3 p.m. here in the City Hall chamber. So if you're unable to make it, we'll definitely provide you an update at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
One question on your report. The Acacia Park, we're $800,000 from the council, $200,000 from that, plus a $550 still leaves us approximately $150,000 short. Is there any thoughts on how we're funding that to actually get the project done, or are they looking to reduce the cost?
We'll probably be looking to reduce the cost, circling back with RHA and really fine-tuning the design and seeing what line items we might be able to value engineer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And commissioner comments. Commissioner Stolnak.
A couple of things. I was wondering if there has been any advertisement being done at the Air Force Base for use of the aquatic center, because I know that they are required to do physical fitness, and so just letting them know that the aquatic center is there, right across the street, and we have a lot of people to tap into there. So I didn't know if we were advertising at the Air Force Base or not.
Yeah, so we haven't directly advertised with them. However, we have spoken to somebody that they're working with very closely, and they do have the information available. And they were very happy to find out that that there is military pricing for the aquatic center, and that there's ample opportunity to do lap swimming and participate in masters and things like that. So this person is a consultant that they're working with, had reached out to me, and so the information has gotten back to the Air Force Base on that.
Okay, all right. And on Saturday, I attended Elderfest, and there was a really nice turnout. The first time I've been to Elderfest, and it was in honor of B.B. Buchan, who I've been a friend with for a long, long time. She was actually a teacher of mine, a substitute teacher at the high school when we were there, and she was also my soccer coach. And it was a great turnout. There were a lot of people. A lot of people were there for BB, but a lot of people were there just for the day. Bill Ruane was the title sponsor, and he continues to be generous to this community and support a lot of events. And there were a lot of local businesses and individuals that donated the raffle prizes. And it was a very nice turnout. And it was, like I said, the first time I had been there. Would have been nice if there were more booths that were there that were represented. So hopefully maybe next time there could be maybe more of that. But I thought the event was very nice, and maybe some music or something. But it was a nice turnout, and BB was thrilled to be recognized. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lubes.
No comments this evening, sir.
Okay, Vice Chairperson Davis.
Kind of back to your comment about the military. I know that they know because I've been going in and out of the pool, and you can see the guys rolling in. I looked at the stats, and I think it's a little underserved there. I'm not so sure all of them are reporting as military, but yeah, it seems like they've got a good presence, and it's good to see because it is just right across the street, and they do have the ability to use it, and as have I, and I love the facility, obviously. The other thing that I want to hopefully push onto the golf committee is that as we look at our facilities and our objectives, one of the main objectives we had when we were doing the golf facility is to see to it that we do have youth programming that's suited towards the El Segundo, residents, and just as we continue with these communications, that we make sure that we let them know that one of our objectives is not only to see that Topgolf has their facility the way they want it, but also offers programs that we want for our kids so that we can have, hopefully, an El Segundo golf program in the future, which is something that's kind of been missing in the past. So I just want to refresh our memories that even though we're getting the facility done, we do have to deal with programming as well as we're well aware from aquatics, that let them know now that it is one of our priorities. And if there's any talks, I'd love to be a part of that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have nothing tonight. And we'll move to public communications. Seeing none, we'll close public communications, and we'll adjourn to the next regular meeting on Wednesday, June 19th, 2019 at 6 p.m.